So another aspect of this mounting system, which is really shit, is you can't get the nuts off completely. So you have to ease this off. So it's sort of not actually properly engaged, and hold it there just to get the nuts off. So it is a shit system. Got a faceplate now from Amadeo. It's not particularly great. It's okay. It's a bit corroded. It seems to be reasonably in balance. It's not particularly flat, but I'm sure it will be fine for the purposes of which it's intended, which is, for me, I'm going to need this to be able to make the new interface adapter plates for the chucks. So, yeah, that will work fine. It is an absolute nightmare, though, to get on. You know, the bolts are down there. You can't get the bolts off without teasing this forward, and it was really hard to get on. I'm dreading trying to get the damn thing off. I might put something behind there and use the bolts to jack it off. Fortunately, the faceplate is not something that's going to go on and have a lot of use, but it does have a purpose in the arsenal of accessories for a lathe. I found the best way of doing this is to put a little bit of packing down there and use the nut to jack it off of the collar a little bit. Leave it on a couple of threads, so if you pull it and it does just jump off, you're not going to hurt yourself. And get it as far as you can, so you just have a millimetre or so to pull it off. Well, that's the plan anyway. Well, that worked, sort of. Whatever happens, you have to go searching for the washers afterwards. Well, now we have a quick change tool post. I'm due some luck, and as it would have it, it fits perfectly without any mods. What I was concerned about was there wasn't enough range of adjustment, but it turns out that that's more than enough to get it on centre. So the only thing that I've got to do is drill and put a dowel pin to stop this rotating. Well, I've got some material now, not all of it, not all that I need, I've got more coming. Tool post is on. I've added another locking screw to make sure that this is nice and tight. The material for the new support plate will be here in a few days, and I can start to make that. I need to make a new stud. This is only 8mm, it's really not enough. It'll take a 10mm. The bore is located on the standard boss that is cast into the top slide, which is fine. But so that really should be 10mm there. So we're going to make a new stud. I've made some shelving out of the old pallet that the lathe came on. Just, you know, starting to get things organised. Still, the only tool that I have is that one that I ground up. So I'm waiting for some more tools, or any tools. But we've turned a couple of bits, and it works. It's a little quieter now as well. I found that I put some dry motorcycle chain lubricant on the external gears, and it sets up dry so it doesn't fling off. and that's worked really quite well. I think some of the noise issues I have with just bedding in, and the more I use it, the quieter it gets. I've actually got it dirty. I've actually used it. Nothing very exciting. I just turned down the ends of a bit of 12mm alley bar to fit the DTI on so that I can properly tram the mill. The first job I've got to do on here is to make a new shaft for the quick change tool post. It's bizarre because this is just an 8mm thread on the end there, and the clearance hole is clearly for 10mm, as was the original that came with the lathe. Again, I think this is because they just used parts that were available from the smaller lathe. It's not right, but we can fix that. Just doing a quick check. This is not a test bar, it's just a bit of alley that just to see that my initial setup is reasonable, and that's absolutely perfect. Certainly for, considering I'm only going to be working over that length, it's just not worth worrying about. So that's that really just a confirmation of the original setup with the two centres. More of an issue is the tool post itself, which, guess what, is not standard. And when I say not standard, it's nothing like any other tool post that you can buy commercially. It's not like anything from India, it's not like any of the Chinese ones. It is made and sold by Weiss, the manufacturer of the machine, and it is a complete, it's not AO, it's not A1, it's something else. I've spent hours on the internet trying to find additional tool holders and drawn a blank, so I'm a dealer trying to get me some from Weiss. I've made up these little aluminium bits of aluminium angle just to centre the tool better. You can get a 16mm, this is a 12mm tool, you can get a 16mm in there, but it's borderline whether you can get it on the centre because you can't get it low enough. I think 12mm is probably the maximum you can get in these. Let's see how it goes. I'm not convinced about using these little bits of alley. The reason I have done this, originally I was just going to pack it out so that I'm clamping in the centre of the tool. Here's a bit of tool steel, same size, and if you just push it all the way to the back, you're clamping on the edge, you're not clamping on the centre. And clearly being closer to the fixing is going to be more stable. Whether a millimetre or a bit is going to make any difference, I doubt it. So I could just put some packing on the back. Really, this is sized for a 16mm bit, which would fit perfectly in that holder, except there would be no adjustment left. It'd be on the floor, and it's borderline whether I could get the tool tip centered. Fine if you're grinding your own, because you could lower it a bit, but if you're using indexable tools, then you're a bit stuffed. So I'm not convinced, because the aluminium is soft, and the screws will dig into that. That may actually help to absorb some vibration. I have no idea. We'll try it and see what happens. the more I think about this, the more I'm inclined to go with my first thoughts, which is to have these the tool centered so the clamping force is even, but maybe not to have the aluminium on the top, just have a straight piece down there to pack it so that I can just put it against there. At the end of the day, if I had a larger tool piece, a 16mm, the point, the tip, would be the same distance away from the centre as the 12mm with the packing. So there's no additional force there. You have a slightly more rigid tool because of its size, but I think the weakness in this setup is the top slide itself rather than the tool. I'm not going to be doing heavy cuts anyway. And actually, when I look at what I'm doing, this is just down in the chaff. So that's the new shaft made up. It went really quite well. Apart from the parting off, which was just awful. I just couldn't use the parting off tool. It just chattered so much. Have the new pin in place. Just setting it up. Roughly, I'll do it on the lathe, but just setting the square. I've not put the pins in the 6mm dowel yet. I want to see where the most appropriate position is for the two holes, so that it doesn't get in the way when I move it. I probably don't need the dowels with this much beefier fixing. I don't think it's going to move at all. We'll see. All complete. Much more stable and solid with that beefier post in the middle. Still not sure about the holders. They're clearly designed for a 16mm tool, but as I said, you cannot achieve the centre height with a 16mm tool because the holder will be absolutely right on the base, and you may or may not get it. I say you may be lucky, but 9 times out of 10 you won't be able to achieve the centre. So I thought, well, what I could do is I could drill and tap another 2 holes, so that I could even out the clamping forces on the tool.